Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel Creative Space. And today's topic is all about food and dining etiquettes. And when you're welcoming somebody at your place, what all should you keep in mind? And who better than a personal brand coach who is also an image consultant and who is at par in this industry? So please join me in welcoming Miss Leema. Leema, thank you so much for doing this for my channel, and please introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Neha, for giving me this opportunity to come here and speak to your followers and share a little bit about, what we call as dining etiquette, and which is, something very simple and needs to be understood by everyone to progress in life. To tell you something about myself, my name is Leema, and Leema means five in the language Malay, and it's also the capital of country Peru, and therefore these are things that I look forward to going to Malay or going to Malaysia or to Peru. And my organization is called Dotting I, and this is from a phrase called, crossing the T's and dotting the I's. So that means you're trying to complete something. When we cross the T or we dot the I, we are completing. And I'm a specialist in behavioral skills, body language, personal branding, and leadership tools. And I conduct group coaching as well as one-on-one consulting. So this is a little bit about myself.
How nice! Such unique information you have given. So thank you for that. Yeah. So without any further ado, Leema, can we start with the questions?
Definitely, definitely.
Okay. So my first question would be, what are the top 3 to 5 mistakes or concerns or some things that people miss out?
Okay. See, dining is a experience which has to please all the senses, right? When we look at food, we look at how presentable the food is, right? We look at the ambience that the food is presented in. We look at the people around us, whether they have pleasing personalities. We then, smell the food when it is brought to the table.
Yeah.
We sometimes hear the crackling also of the food when, it is a sizzler. You hear the sizzle and then you're anticipating that something tasty is going to come there. And then when finally it is laid down on your table and when you eat it, you love the taste, right? You agree with me,
Yes.
Neha? Similarly, the people who sit together for a meal, they also need to please all your senses.
Hmm.
So when we say dining etiquette, it's like a code of conduct in a society
Yeah.
or in a social behavior that we are expected to do. So dining etiquette is not meant for only Raja, Maharaja, aristocracy, kings and queens, and for politicians or statesmen. It's meant for everyone who sits with another person for a meal.
Yes.
So when I'm saying all the senses, we sometimes know how to eat with a fork and spoon. We know how to smile at another person. But one grave mistake a lot of people don't pay attention to is these loud noises that they make when they eat,
Sure.
right? They will be slurping and burping, and there's a lot of impoliteness in that, but people don't get that, right? They feel that it's okay, people will tolerate all the noises. But actually, there are many people who feel a little awkward when they hear the, crunchiness of the food coming out so loudly,
Yes.
right? So, one big mistake which people can correct, and we are never told in most households not to make noises.
Yeah.
We are told to eat slowly, but we are never told that, can you chew a little gently. the food is not getting over. So as a guest or even as a host or a hostess, it's very important to pay attention to what kind of noises one is making. Second scenario is, you are invited to a buffet,
Hmm.
right? Shadi, and you're invited and you stand in line, right? And people stand in a line, and then you've taken your salads and you've taken your papad or something that came in the beginning, and then you go to the mains and you're waiting in line. A lot of people start eating in the line itself.
Yeah. Yes.
They are talking to their friends, and then they think that it's okay to eat the papad or it's okay to eat, the salad. Actually, good dining etiquette says that you fill your plate and then you go and sit in a table or stand wherever you are supposed to stand, and then eat, right? So one is before you begin the meal, one is during the meal. And another very important thing is, a lot of women, when they eat and they finish the meal, and nowadays you do get something to clean your hands, you have lemon given to you, you don't have to go to the wash basin. That doesn't mean that you start grooming yourself on the table itself. Once you've finished your meal, don't start applying your lipstick, taking out your phone and looking at yourself, because grooming has to be done in private. So if you feel your lipstick has worn off, you know you need to get up, excuse yourself, go to a washroom, and apply your.
Now, the second question now comes to is we will go to the uses of the cutlery. So, understanding of the use of cutlery, especially while at the dining table, there are so many different types of cutleries that you get at a proper fine dining restaurants. So, if you can give certain examples of few uses.
Okay, so fine dining is a different game by itself. So if you have been invited as a guest to a fine dining restaurant or for a fine dining meal, that means that there are going to be people who are very important in that meal, right? It's not a casual gathering of friends. So when you go in for a fine dining meal and you're talking about the cutlery, that what we need to remember, basic rules, some basic rules, because fine dining rules can go up to
Yeah.
200 pages.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Basic rules: your knives and your spoons are always placed on the right side, right? The spoon is placed on the right side, your knife is also placed on the right side. So that means you have a plate in the center, which is your main plate. Your knife and your spoon are on the right side of the place setting. So that's called a place setting. In fine dining, it is also possible that your name is reserved and put there in a name tag. So you don't go to a dining table and switch places with a friend. There is a reason why a certain order is followed in fine dining. Now, suppose you have reached much before the host or the hostess, you are supposed to wait at the reception. You're not supposed to go in and just occupy any chair. Probably you're not aware what is reserved for you, and nor should you stand at the reception and think, anxiously why the host or the hostess is not there. Generally, they will come on time, and if you have reached much early, you can't place an order just because you have reached on time. So, with respect to cutlery, like I said, knives and spoons go to the right, and your forks will go always to the left, right? So, why generally all dining place settings are meant for right-handed people. Unfortunately, we don't have a setting, focused on the left-handed person. So, even a left-handed person throughout the world is taught to eat with the right hand. They can do a lot of stuff with their left hand, but eating is always with the right hand. And especially in India, we don't encourage people to eat with the left hand. And throughout the world also, there is a bias, or everything is skewed towards the right-handed person. That is why. So right hand generally is the hand of strength. That is why we keep a knife, because a knife can help you cut.
Hmm.
And the left hand is considered the hand of dexterity, means flexible hand.
Hmm.
So if your hand is flexible, then you can pick and choose and eat, and you cut with your right hand. That is why you have the knife and the spoons on the right hand and the fork on the left hand. Now, order of, all this cutlery is arranged in such a way that you always start from the outside. You go in and you see a plate and you're very scared which cutlery to use at which course.
Yeah.
So just remember the term outside in. So that means if you're getting a salad, right, and you have another fork kept on your left, you have two forks on your left. That means the outermost fork is meant for your salad.
Hmm.
And your outermost spoon probably is a soup spoon. So remember the rule outside in. So three things that you can remember is that your spoons and your knives on the right, your forks on the left, and then you follow the rule of outside in.
Okay. Okay.
Good to go?
Yeah. Good. And now the next question would be, if top 3 to 5 tips to keep in mind while hosting someone for lunch or dinner, like example, arranging the table, as you said. So anything that you would like to share on this?
So arranging the table. So when we invite someone, it's not necessarily a fine dining
Yeah.
meal,
Yeah.
right? But it is still, it can be an informal or a formal meal, right? Formal is when there is an occasion and then you have invited people of importance. And informal is when there is a gathering of friends. So generally what happens when we invite somebody very important, we try to get the best dinner set out,
Yes.
right? And what's the meaning of that? That everything matches everything. That means your plates, your quarter plates, your dinner plates, your saucers, your bowls, lot of things match.
Yeah.
So if you are a home host, a hostess, hosting something at home, and there are very important people, that means if there are 10 people, see to it that most of them get matching plates and matching, cutlery.
Yeah.
With respect to, Indian dining, what happens a lot of time, the host serves, the
Yes.
hostess serves, if it is a, informal gathering. But if you're trying to make it a formal dinner or a formal meal, see to it that you sit along with the guests, that you hire someone to, serve food for you, probably someone who's qualified to do that, instead of sitting, because that is a very formal way of saying that, okay, we have a gathering, which is very close to a fine dining gathering. The host and the hostess, both of them sit down along with the guest. So keep that in mind. And generally, if you have a table which holds probably 10 people or 4 people or 6 people, the host and the hostess sit at both the ends of the table. They don't sit next to each other,
Yeah.
right? And generally, the most important person to the host or the hostess sits on their right. So you
Hmm.
keep a chair and you allow them to sit. So when you're, parting, you're creating a party scene or a meal scene at home. There are many things that you can borrow from a fine dining, meal or a restaurant, especially with respect to lighting. You can have warmer lights because it will give a warmer feeling. Most of the time, the tube lights or the white lights are used by fast food joints so that the energy is very high. But when you call people home, you want them to have a mellow time, you want them to have good energy, but you don't want them to just gobble up the food and leave.
Yeah.
So you want to make it a, slow affair.
Hmm. And so my next question now would be on the food items. So, which food item should be consumed by hand or fork or spoon or chopsticks? Or, people get confused sometimes what to use when. So, if you can give few tips on that.
Yeah. So what we serve in India typically is, a lot of rice items,
Hmm.
right? And we serve a lot of items which we prefer food which is not dry. The accompaniments are dry, but the main courses generally has something which is wetter,
Hmm.
right? Like a gravy or like a soup or like dal or stuff like that. Your hands get coated
Yeah.
with food. So those kind of food one should have with a fork and a spoon. So, you can use a spoon to have rice, and you can have a fork, or you can have something to push the rice to the spoon. Don't use your hands to push the rice, because then again, the hands become full of whatever food that you're eating. The dry food, like, roti or breads, we can break with our hands. So when you're breaking roti, see to it that you take one piece at a time, or bread also one piece at a time. Generally, there is a plate given to you at the side of your main plate where you can keep your roti, break a piece, or break the bread a piece, and then dip it in whatever you feel, is going along with your food. So the only foods that you should touch is which will not leave its mark on your hands.
Hmm.
So roti will not, you can always, wipe it. A papad will not, piece of bread will not. You don't have to attempt to eat a papad with a fork and knife, or you don't have to attempt to eat even a bread with a fork and knife. You can always break it into bite-sized pieces. So your hands are also cleaner. Salads are generally eaten with a fork because you have leaves there. And they also give you a salad knife. The salad knife is not like our kitchen knife, it won't be that sharp. It won't cause you any kind of harm, but you can still cut a lettuce leaf, or some kind of potato wedges or something, and use your fork and eat. Pasta is generally eaten again with a fork. What you have to do is you can take a fork, twirl it, you know, and keep a spoon against it to twirl it and put it in your mouth. And generally, those are all small portions that should be eaten when you're in a social gathering. You can't eat the whole bowl, at once in one go.
Yes, most of the people eat mouthful and they chew, that is
Yeah,
again very
yeah.
disturbing. Now, the next question would be how to hold the beverage glasses, or something that you can would like to share.
Okay. Now, beverages. Okay, in fine dining, you can have various glasses,
Yeah.
right? So you can have a champagne flute. Flute means it'll be longer, right? And champagne flutes are generally longer also because champagne is a bubbly liquid and it can spill out. So something long is given so that the bubbles settle. Then you have this sparkling wine glass,
Yeah.
again, which has a bowl which is wider.
Yeah.
Or you have, if you watch a James Bond movie, you know about the martinis that James Bond has.
Yes.
That's a cocktail glass. So you have old fashioned glasses which are short, round, right? So many glasses which can be held in different ways. So you have a if you are offering something to amp up the style of your fine dining or of your party, you can always have a water goblet. It's much like a wine goblet, but a little more, longer. And generally, water doesn't, change its temperature very fast
Mm.
because, it'll maintain, if you're giving it in room temperature, it'll still be.
Mm.
What happens with wine is generally it is preserved or kept in 19 degrees. But when you bring it out, it becomes warmer, right? And warm wine doesn't taste as good as the wine that is chilled for you. So to avoid the wine growing warmer, you are supposed to hold the stem of the glass,
Yes.
not the rim of the glass, the stem of the glass. And the moment you hold the stem of the glass, it makes you look elegant, and you're also helping the wine retain its cool factor,
Yeah.
so that it tastes much better. Now, if it's a beer mug that you're getting, of course, you can hold the handle. Yeah.
Okay.
So, one thing is, a lot of times, when people are offered some wine and you want to say no to it, don't turn your glass upside down saying, no, 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 I don't want it. Just hold your hand above the wine glass and signal that you don't want any wine.
Okay. I would also like to ask on teas and coffees. Sometimes, you want to have coffee or tea after the meal. People do have that. Sometimes
Yeah.
people just keep the tags, the tea bags inside.
Yeah.
They leave it there. Or while having coffee, which hand to use? If you can just shed some light on teas and coffees.
Yeah. So tea and coffee generally, when it is served with, a sachet, don't leave the sachet hanging in your teacup, right? So what you do is you will have a stirrer spoon, right? So use the stirrer spoon to just roll your, sachet. Don't press it, because we are so used to extracting everything out of the tea bag that, what you get there, that is enough. And then you leave it at the side of the, saucer that you have. And then leave the saucer on the table. When you lift, you don't have to lift it with the saucer.
Mm.
Unless there is no table, then what you can do is keep the saucer on your lap and then have your tea. Don't walk around with the saucer in your hand. You need to keep it somewhere. Just hold the, tea cup.
Mm.
With respect to coffee, also, after you stir, generally in fine dining, there is something called a slop bowl. That means whatever is left, you can leave it in that bowl. Your stirring, equipment, or, your sachet, you can leave it in the slop bowl. It is like a waste bowl that is kept there. So find out if there is a slop bowl, leave everything there. Then you have just your tea and coffee mug or cup and the saucer that you can use.
Okay. Okay. I think one more question I would like to ask about the napkins you said for the fine dining. So now, somebody who is hosting a dinner at home or during buffet, we have paper napkins or tissue papers that you place on the dining area. I mean, in a napkin holder, or when people are in a buffet system, they give napkins under the plate. So how
Yeah,
are people supposed to use those?
yeah. So understand, when someone is inviting us, for a meal, or even in a buffet area, there are tables that are very cleanly kept,
Hmm.
right? So if you follow even normal hygiene rules, after you use a tissue, you don't display it to another eater. So if you follow that, because we are talking about a good code of conduct so that people feel comfortable. Why is etiquette put in place? So that people have good relationship with each other. Now, after a meal, if people feel uncomfortable sitting in the same space as you because you have made the area, very, very
I see.
unhygienic or unsocial, no one would want to sit in that same space given a choice.
Hmm.
So if you're using a napkin, generally now, you can use a napkin even to wipe your plate. If you feel that you need to wipe your plate, before you even put food in it, and you can keep it under your plate, hold it under your plate and carry it with you, so
Hmm.
that, you need to wipe your hand, you can. But if this is a business meal, see to it that you don't use your right hand to eat anything, because you may have to shake somebody's hand, right?
Hmm.
If it's a business meal, if your right hand is full of food stains and someone very important comes up. So Neha, who's your idol in terms of a celebrity?
Ritesh Deshmukh.
Ritesh Deshmukh. So you are called to a party.
Hmm.
Okay, Ritesh Deshmukh walks in,
Hmm.
and the host introduces you to Ritesh Deshmukh, and you have already eaten the butter paneer, and the roti. What happens to you that you can't, greet Ritesh Deshmukh?
Yeah, it's
You can't.
embarrassing. It's embarrassing and miss of opportunity.
Embarrassing, and it's a lost opportunity,
Yeah.
right? So therefore, that is why it is important that even in a buffet, even in places where you can manage to get a fork and spoon, please use that to have your food so that this hand is free to greet people, right? Or in a cocktail kind of situation, mocktail kind of situation, hold your drink in your left hand so that you can, shake hands with Ritesh Deshmukh with your right hand.
Yeah.
So always make use of this. So keep your napkin handy. And also nowadays they do display a extra set of paper napkins so that you can pick a couple of them so that you can wipe your hand if need be of small food items.
Yeah.
Not the heavy ones. You may not be able to do it unless you use water. Use that to wipe your hand. Don't throw the paper napkins all over the table like some decoration. Keep it underneath your table, and as far as possible go and dispose it off where the dry waste is, so that you are still leaving the place clean.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. And now my last question, I think we have covered a lot. So my last question would be, apart from this, that I must have missed something and you would like to address the viewers.
Yeah, so very common thing that we get, Neha, in any restaurant, whether it's fine dining and sometimes in homes also. Okay, one of the common things that we get is a napkin, you know, and people, wipe their entire face with the napkin sometimes. If it is, very warm and they're perspiring, or, don't use a napkin the way it is supposed to be used, right? So, how do you use a napkin given to you? Remember that, the napkin is meant to dab the corner of your mouth in case there is something at the corner of your mouth, right? Just the corner of your mouth. The moment you get the napkin, sometimes it's like a swan and all, it is made and kept there for you. It looks very pretty. Sometimes it is kept on the left side of your plate. You pick it up. If you're in a hostess kind of situation, you can only open the napkin if your host or hostess has opened it. Generally, the hostess. You don't open it before they open it, right? So you wait for them to open it. If you're in an equal kind of situation, you can open your napkin, place it on your lap, right? Don't place it on your collar like a bib, right? And don't use it and tie it round your neck. There is only one situation where you can tie a napkin round your neck, is when you're eating crab. They give it to you because it is a very messy food.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a hammer, you have a lot of stuff to eat crab. But otherwise, you'll not get anything messy. So keep your napkin on your lap. See to it that when you want to take it, just fold a little bit. Use these two fingers. Can you see these two
Yes.
fingers? And dab. So the index finger and the middle finger and dab. So it should not be like a drama. Sometimes people and like this, and don't do that. Fine dining or etiquette is not like some आपको drama नहीं करना है.
Yeah.
You have to do it very naturally.
Yeah.
So if you see someone doing it, don't take that kind of pose. That is not required.
Don't be over exquisite about it.
Don't do that also, but don't scrub your face also with a napkin, right? You want to leave the napkin looking clean, but with it will be washed, but it should not be that the person who is washing is wondering who actually used the napkin. So don't do that. And once you have finished using it, place it loosely next to your plate. Okay, you can loosely fold it. You don't have to make the swan that you got, or the flower that you got, nor do you have to bundle it like, don't leave it wadded up, like thrown to one place. Don't do that. Don't use it to blow your nose in corona and during this pandemic, to cough into it. Don't do that. Carry your own stuff to cough into it. And suppose you want to leave the table and there's something urgent that has come up. In fine dining, you need to keep your phones on silent, not answer calls where you're telling people, "Ha, मैं खाना खा रहा हूँ, मैं खाना खा रहा हूँ." That means that person is not important who knows that you're actually sitting somewhere very important, right? So unless somebody very important calls you, never pick your call. So if you're going to leave the table, please say, excuse me, place your napkin on your chair, not on the table, because when you place it on the table, the wait staff feels you're finished. If you want to go in the middle of a meal to the washroom, just say, excuse me, in the same way. Leave it on the chair. Don't tell people I'm going to the washroom. Don't tell them what you're planning to do. Right? So those are no-nos for any kind of fine dining scenario. And then you come back and then you use your napkin. Right? So they know that you're still coming back. So this is very important that people know what to do with a napkin, because it is one of the most common implements given to people. Don't talk with food in your mouth. Chew your food, let it go, to a certain place. Wait until you've swallowed the food in your mouth before you talk, because you can spit it on someone else, So that's going to defeat the purpose of calling it fine dining. So something that is very important, take a little bit, chew it, then talk. And you don't have to talk so much that you don't give anyone a chance to talk. Allow people, everyone to talk.
Yeah.
Want to ask me anything else? I'm open to that.
Yeah, I think I have asked the most common questions that I could find around, and you have answered it so wonderfully. So many takeaways, and it's just the basic. I mean, I know you are at a very high level, and you have a lot of study and expertise into this topic. So, to all my viewers, this vlog is just to create an awareness. If you people have any more questions, or you have come across anything that you would like to ask, please leave in the comment section below. There is a lot to learn. She is also a coach, a personal coach, a group coach, as she mentioned earlier. You can directly approach her or through me. And definitely, I'll leave the details in the description below. Please share this to as many people as possible and subscribe. And thank you, Leema, so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Neha. It was a pleasure speaking to you and informing your viewers what to do when they're called in as a guest. Definitely, all this will help them become more popular, I guess.
Yes, definitely, definitely. You set a standard. When you follow these things, you definitely set a standard. You stand out in your group. So yeah, it's very important. And a lot to learn also for others. Why not?
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you. And I would be sketching Leema as a thank you gesture from my end. So thanks, Leema, and do share with everybody possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Neha.
Yes.
Have a great week ahead and a weekend ahead.
Thank you. Wish you the same.
Thank you.
Yeah.